Hi, and welcome to Practice Time with Ms. Rhona. My name is Rhona-Mae Arca, or as my students call me, Ms. Rhona, and I'm a registered music teacher in Calgary, Alberta. This is a series where you get to hang out with me in the practice room and listen in as I work through some of my students' pieces and technical requirements, as well as some of the projects that I'm working on as well, and hopefully glean some practice tips, get some repertoire and practice ideas, and hopefully they are helpful to you, or at least mildly entertaining. Anyhow, I noticed on Monday's stream that I had forgotten to add the laptop into the live stream, and the laptop's in charge of sound, so there was no sound for the first 4.5 minutes. Unfortunately, it's a little bit hard to monitor that. And I suppose if I check all the little boxes, but I'm hearing the sound come out of the soundboard into the headphones, so I thought everything was okay when it was not until I brought up the other camera. So once again, my apologies for that. So unfortunately, that meant that this got missed. And I did this as a fun way to just kick off sight reading and ear training. It was on my mind yesterday. And it was on the whiteboard one day during one of my university music theory classes. And a very fun way to practice sight singing and ear training and just develop the inner ear, because whoever put it up was brilliant. Every single one of us who walked into the classroom, we stood there in the doorway and fiddled around with the notes. And there were the two phrases, but just for the sake of this exercise and to keep within, fair use, the copyright, I just put the first little bit. So, like I said, each person who walked in stood there, pointed at the board and went, da, perfect fourth, okay, da, 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 then down perfect fourth, da, 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 da. And then at that point, people started to speed up. So da, 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 da. And it was such a fun way, like I said, to do the ear training. I should try that with my students, at least the ones who are coming in. I could even do it with the online students because I'm doing it here via share screen, so could definitely try that. So I thought it would be appropriate to share that little memory today, or at least this week, with the passing of Alex Trebek. Fantastic host, great Canadian, and it was neat listening and growing up and all through the years following the show and learning little bits of trivia. So he's definitely going to be missed. So yeah, unfortunately, that part got missed in the sound glitch. So anyhow, I'm just going to move on. So the focus this week has been technique and fingering. So and then today, what I wanted to really do is just focus a lot on technique and show like fingering and some of the challenges in adjusting. So hopefully that'll give pianists of all levels some ideas, and any teachers who are looking and watching, they can chime in with their tips as well, or suggestions and questions. So let me just get rid of the screen here. Just have to find, just change the view. That's all I have to do. Okay, so I have my RCM piano syllabus, and then I've printed off the Conservatory Canada. Oh, this is the classical syllabus. My contemporary idiom syllabus is, it's floating around somewhere. I think it might be over there. So anyhow, another reason why I wanted to kind of focus on technique is I know, because I was a student too, that technical requirements are one of those things that, most students kind of leave last, ignore, just give a cursory practice and call it done. Excuse me. But really, technical scales, chords, arpeggios, this is the foundation of our songs. These help build our chops to play our pieces and to tackle some of these tricky ones. So how do you practice that in a way that, is not so boring, not so painful, not so chore-ish? Oh, hang on. This microphone keeps moving into, like it wants to come closer. It's very strange. So one fun way that my students and I have figured out is using, D&D dice. So let me come closer. So our polyhedral dice. So we've got, this one's a D20, so 20 sides. Just trying to get that camera to focus on it. Here's a D100. So it goes up in tens. This one's great for, metronome practice. D10, so 10 sides. Your classic D6. D8, which I like. It's pretty cool. So it's a double pyramid. So predictably, one could surmise that a D4 is going to be a pyramid. And then D12. So my students and I have come up with various ways of using the dice just to, one, randomize things and make it a little bit more fun. So we have, 24 major and minor keys. So what I'm going to do is just roll a D20 and a D4. I'll just add the number together. So I rolled a 10. Okay, so that'll be, what is 10 o'clock? I have a musical clock that a student gave me. So 10 o'clock looks like it is B flat major. Okay, so could also use, say, a good old D6 to say, well, hang on. Let me figure out. I'll roll a D10 real quick to figure out what grade I'm dealing with. Where is my 10? Oh, there it is. Grade 3 today. Okay. Okay, so requirements for RCM, 2 octaves, formula pattern, 2 octave scales, I should say. Formula pattern, chromatic scale, broken tonic triads, and solid. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'll roll a D6. Okay, 2. Formula pattern. Oh, so I have to do D major. Well, I'll do D major because that's the requirement, but then I will do the B flat major because that's what I rolled for a key. So now, there's one thing that we can do with the dice, but the first thing I encourage students to do is play, 3 times. Do 3 different ways. So first time you could be dealing with, just go really slow. Good way to check your fingering and making sure that you don't have fingers sticking out. I had to think about what grade I'm dealing with right now, because that determines how many octaves I go out. So I noticed this finger started to stick out, so I just try to relax it. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna speed up. Or no, I really should stick with the program. Okay, so slow. So second time, you could focus on something else. So maybe you go softer, or you could do staccato. You could do a crescendo. I'm just trying to decide. I think I'm going to go staccato. So, oh, I was thinking of swinging it apparently as well. I'll do that for the third round. Okay, and then the last time could be, say, swing. The Conservatory Canada students have to do swing scales. And honestly, anyone who's interested in trying some jazz should practice swing scales. So that's long, short, long, short. So that was 3 repetitions, but didn't necessarily feel like it was 3 because I did it 3 different ways. So that's one way to vary things and make it a little bit more interesting and a bit more real life as well, because anytime you see these patterns in music, they're not going to be exactly the way you've been practicing them. Let's see. So now let's try another roll, just because this is actually quite fun. Haven't done this in a while. Okay, so I'm going to roll. Okay, grade 5. Let's go Conservatory Canada this time, because I have a Con-Can grade 5 student later today. Okay, so they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things that they have to work on. So let's grab my D10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so broken triads, 4 different keys. So now I'm going to roll my D4. Okay, I rolled a 4, so F minor. Okay, so for grade 5, they have to do hands together, 2 octaves, triplet, eighths. So how can we vary that? That's a good question. Could go slow, medium, fast. Could go, different dynamic levels. Could do different spots on the keyboard. Could go hands separate, and then the third time hands together. So, as a student and someone who's been playing for a while, I urge you to come up with different ways to practice these. Because really, the only way you're going to get better at these is repetition. So if you can make at least those repetitions a bit more interesting, you're more likely to do them, right? I had always done them the same way growing up, so it was not so fun. And I always went the same order, so scales all the way down. Making this completely random is actually kind of interesting. Let's do another variation now. So I'm going to roll a D6 this time. Okay, so I just rolled a 3. I decided that I was going to let the D6 die determine how many repetitions I'm going to do. So 3 times apparently. Oh, I know what we could do. Could repeat each inversion 3 times. So like so. 2 octaves, right? Another thing to do, especially with the broken triads, is break up those groups just to help encourage you to play evenly. So you don't always have to do that. There is a real tendency with beginners especially to just pause and reset, or lift and reset. So doing this encourages you to keep going. So. going to go stop on the 5th note now. Didn't quite think about how I was going to do that there. But last time I'm just going to do normal. So, can play around with dynamics. So that way you're practicing different articulations, you're testing your control of those different touches and different speed as well. Okay, there is something. Okay, I'm going to leave the dice for a minute because there's a couple of technique things I do want to address. So, when I was learning as a younger student, like I said earlier, I had this tendency to start with scales and then work my way down to arpeggios. Now, I've seen, I think it's Bulletproof Musician and quite a few other musicians who blog and vlog fairly regularly. They've been huge supporters of starting with arpeggios. And since I've started doing that, I've noticed an improvement. So scales are hard to do first, cold. It's hard to get them completely even and completely in sync. Arpeggios are great, so actually I'm just going to roll for a different key. So let's do 20, 24. Okay, what key are we going to do? I rolled a 9 plus a 3, so 12. C major. Okay. Arpeggios are great especially if you're tight, because you can go slow and just really work on these wrist circles and trying to center your weight on every single note that you're on. Move your body. And, depending on the day, especially if I'm doing a lot of computer work, I'll sit on these arpeggios for a while, even just the one octave. See, I'm feeling the triplets, and we have to do them in 4s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Arpeggios are also a good exercise to kind of stop and pause in different spots, just to break that tendency to do triplets, because both conservatories, and it's been a while since I've checked the Canadian National Music Conservatory, but they all seem to be fairly consistent with wanting arpeggios done in groups of 4 or groups of 2 if you're doing 8th notes. So, but 1, 2, so you could go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7. So you can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So play around with it and change those accents, change where you pause, because eventually you'll iron out that tendency to want to do triplets. So I'm just going to run through all the inversions. C major is awkward. So. So, I don't know, I sometimes find when I'm trying to get speed, I'll start tightening up. So I'm trying to keep it kind of at a middle speed, just to figure out at what point am I tensing up and why. So. Okay. So it seems like the tightening up is because I'm trying to stay hyperextended. So have to try to just rein it in and stretch out only as needed. And then I won't hyperextend. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. There was, scales I want to go over, and something about solid chords, just for this little opening bit. So scales, let me just roll. Okay, let's figure out a grade. Grade. No, I've done grade 3. Give me another grade. Grade 2. Okay. Well, we'll do Concan grade 2 then. They have 4 keys. Okay, dealing with E minor. Okay, and let's figure out. Let's go E harmonic minor. Okay, so 3 different ways. So everyone knows staccato and legato, especially the Concan kids. They have to do staccato and legato on exams, especially if they are contemporary idioms. So actually the 3 repetitions are set. You can do legato, staccato, and swing. I'm going to try something a little bit different though, just to make it a little more challenging and just to give you an interesting option. So we can do legato. Actually, I'll just do normal. So let's do legato first so you have a base. Okay, so now what I'm going to try to do, this is going to take a lot of concentration, so I'm going to slow down, as one hand's going to be legato and one hand's going to be staccato. And I'm going to try switching on the way down. Oh. That's good. The other thing you could play around with is having, one hand do, say, natural minor and one hand do harmonic minor, just for fun. So let's see. I'm going to make left hand do natural minor. So let's try that. No. Let's not do that. Okay. That's probably not a good idea. Okay, let's try maybe 2 note slurs. Oh, that's going to change the fingering. That's hard, but that would be a good one to practice. The other things you can do is have like maybe one hand loud and one hand soft. So I'll try that with another one. So let's see. Let's make this hand loud. So. Now let's switch. Because really, when you see, crack open, your grade 3 book, look at a sonatina. One hand's louder than the other, and you're going to have like a passage like that. So hopefully, those give you a few ideas of different ways to practice. Oh, solid chords, one more thing. So triads are okay. Oh, hang on. Let's actually pick. I'll do D major for fun. Okay. So that's fine and dandy. The main thing is, don't be afraid to come off the keys. Okay, now I'm going to take the headphones off. It sounds like, sound-wise, we're doing pretty good. Fingers crossed. So. All right. So, yeah, you want to be able to release. Now, big challenge is 4-note chords. So it becomes even more important, especially if you have small hands. So stretch out for the chord, but relax right away. You can see I've come in. Second octave, sure. So of course, this means you have to trust your hands. So if you can play by feel as well. Oh, that brings another variation to mind. Try playing with your eyes closed. Try playing with the lights off. That forces you to really use your hearing, your sense of hearing, your sense of touch. And I think a lot of the time we get a little too hung up on what's on the page. Oh, hang on, I need to put something there so that the overhead camera focuses on the keys a little bit better. So yeah, a lot of times we focus on what's on the page rather than what kind of sounds are coming out of our fingers. So if we can not worry so much about what's happening on the page, know the pieces as well, are well enough so that we don't have to rely on reading, then we can really listen and be more expressive. That's going to be like another topic. But anyhow, back to this. So yeah, tense, relax. Tense, relax. So I'm going to try this with my eyes closed. Tense, relax. Tense, relax. Tense, relax. Oh, see, I'm off. Completely off. Okay, so use my note, closing my eyes again. So, okay, so this should be. There we go. There, good. I'm just trying to think. Oh, another teacher had suggested starting doing a crescendo, just to help make it a bit more interesting as well. All right, that's enough for tech tips. So let's move on. You're still going to get tech tips, though, so because the other theme for this week is fingering. So let me just call up. Yes, that's the music. Okay, I'm just going to bring this song up. Okay, so this is Burgmüller's The Chase or The Hunt, depending on what edition you're looking at. So fingering, so if you take a look in technique, so look at the second line here. So I'm just going to zoom in on that if I can. There we go. Okay. Maybe I've lost my cursor. It's kind of disappeared on me, so come back, cursor. Cursor. There. Okay, so you can see on the second line here, we've got a lot of repeating G's. So, okay. Oh. For some reason, my writing tool. Oh, there we go. Sorry, that's not quite what I wanted to do. But yeah, if you look at that first bar there, my tablet doesn't quite want to work on the second screen. Oh, there we go. Let me grab. Okay. So yeah, if you look, come on. All right, so if you look at the second line there, unfortunately my tablet's not cooperating with me at the moment. So you'll just have to, hopefully that's big enough for you to see. But you can see there's repeated G's and a finger change. So that is done just to help keep the tone even. Because if you're doing this, and you could get away with that, but if you're sharing that repeated note between two fingers, then they're going to it takes twice as long to fatigue. But if you're using the same finger repeatedly, you're going to fatigue a little bit sooner. So that's why fingering's important in that spot. Let's see, left hand. So they've got that for fingering. And then lift. Which works okay. It really depends on the size of one person's hand. I tend to do this. But I can see why. Because that makes that smoother. Now, 1, 3, 4, 2. I'm more apt to do 1, 2, 1, 3. The main thing is that slur, that legato slur is observed. So you do have a little bit of flexibility, especially, you know, if that works better with your hand. See, how do you get that legato? You'll have to switch fingers. I'm more likely to do that to get that a bit more legato in the 1, 2, the third bar in on that line. So again, you have a little bit of flexibility. But, I mean, overall, you have to look at what the goal is, why they fingered it that way. So the slur, you don't need to look any further than the slur. And then I'm just jumping ahead. No, that's probably the main thing that I wanted to address there. So putting that together. So fingering there. That's basically done in a way just to prepare your hand for the return of that. So hopefully that sheds a little bit of light on, you know, the logic in fingering that and why it would be important to try to get, you know, that, to try to use that fingering or to come up with something that's similar to give you the effect. So if you were a student, and you're not my student, discuss fingering options with your teacher. Especially if you find that it's, you know, the fingering that's written here is a little bit awkward, but I mean, do try to use the fingering that they give you first, and, you know, work with your teacher to figure out why those fingering choices were made. And then you can see if, you know, alternatives could be found that would work better with your hand. Okay, next up. Oh yes, okay, so I pick that. Oh, now it's letting me use that, okay. That is funny. Okay, let's try and zoom in. Okay, so this is grade 7 Etude. Okay, and why did this pop up? Oh, because the theme is technique and fingering. So if you see the fingering, it'll become a bigger deal in the second line. It's pretty much a zigzaggy scale, but it kind of has a repetitive pattern that da 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 da, and then. So if you look, there's a lot of repetition of going back to 4, then 3 to reset that pattern. It's the exact same pattern in bar 19 as it is in bar 17, so use the same fingering. Make your life easier. It'll be much easier to get the speed, especially the sucker goes. That's 108. animated alligator. So yeah, you want to have fingering where you can stay close to the keys. So, oops, hang on. Okay, and then where it's staccato and the fingering isn't as critical. Let's see if I can. I've lost my. There it is. It's the problem when you have two screens. Okay, there we go. So yeah, the left hand, the fingering is not as critical, but a little bit more critical on the right hand. So. And that's, pretty much your G minor fingering for the most part. So again, that stresses why we practice scales. Gives us the chops, or helps develop our chops. So here again, you have a bit of a repetitive pattern. So might as well start it with the same fingering, same fingering, same fingering, same fingering. And that's done in a way to keep your fingers really nice and tight. Now, you don't want to be playing like that. That you'll wind up splitting your nail from your finger, and that's painful. But you want to be kind of claw-like there, so you can get the action you need with the least amount of effort. Because once you get that speed, you can't play it. Well, you can play it tense. Should you, though? No. It's going to be, that'll come in and bite you in the long run. So yeah, again, if it's a repetitive pattern, keep that fingering. Okay, so that is next up. Oh yes, on the lake. So, why did I pull this section out specifically? This is page 2. Okay. Bar 25, we should really zoom in on. That's perhaps the hardest line of all. I've lost my, there we go. This is kind of cooperating, kind of not cooperating. Love it. Okay, let me. See, I can see the cursor nice and clear on the first monitor, but then when I move to the second monitor, it's depending on where I am in the program, the arrow disappears. There we go. Okay, so fingering is really, really important there in the left hand, because you want to be able to hold those held notes. So let's just. And you want to be able to keep that legato. So bar 26. That also becomes a bit of a deal further down. Okay, let me see if I can find my little errant arrow again. Oh, there. So there, bar 34 and 35. So you definitely need to have that pinky there to make sure you're holding that down. And then the bar beforehand, bar 33. So how do you do that so that's smooth? So work backwards. So you could do, that's a possibility. So you could put your thumb there perhaps. So. is an option. Also an option. I kind of prefer that. Just it feels a bit more comfortable with the hand, whereas this, I find I really have to really work at dropping my weight in and then launching my hand across, which kind of increases the chances of me missing that note. Especially once you add the speed. So again, you'll have to, it's going to depend on everyone's physiology and their flexibility as well. But at least start with the fingering that is given. This one is from another book, so Skizzen. So it would also be worth checking another edition to see if there's fingering, because there's actually not a lot given here on the second page as far as fingering goes. Mind you, if you look at page 1, there's enough repetition that you could try the fingering that's already been given. And that's pretty much it that I wanted to cover. So just to share some thoughts and some practice ideas on how to practice technical requirements or technique, good old scales, chords, arpeggios, just to make it a little bit more interesting, a little less repetitive. If you would like to get your hands on some of these cool polyhedral or D&D, which is short for Dungeons and Dragons, dice, I'll drop some links down to some local tabletop gaming stores, as well as some places that are available online. And that is it. So thank you for checking out the video. Please stay warm and safe. It's pretty yucky outside right now. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button or the notification bell just to find out when there's something new on the channel. There's updates every week, every few days or so. And if you have any suggestions or ideas for future topic ideas, I am hoping to do some interviews with colleagues, my piano tuner, try to get him on board one of these days. He has already said yes, so we just have to sort out a time, a date and a time. But I hope to bring some technicians on and, other musicians as well. I was thinking of bringing in some other musicians to talk about, their career path and all the different careers that are available, because there's not just performing and not just teaching. There's so many other careers that are related to music. So music therapy, sound engineering. There's a lot to explore. So I look forward to bringing that onto the channel and sharing some of that. So till next time, be practicing.